Oh, yes, it is.
It announced itself.
Hi, Leanne. Hi, Sweet. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. It is. We'll wait a couple more minutes just to get started.
The Zoom person getting really.
Oh, we're gonna be we're out in Washington. You
Oh.
are on that. That is so excited. Mm-hmm. Oh, no,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
like I said, anything that is better for you. It costs more.
Yes.
I go to the Amish store, the Amish grocery store.
Where is that?
What do you call that? I don't know, it's out in the middle of nowhere to me.
Okay, sorry.
Well, look at each of the Amish.
Yeah.
But it's the Amish all spices, all this
Okay.
stuff, and zucchini. Yeah. All it's instead of vanilla extract, it's.
I saw
it's-
phrase
it's-
this thing.
Okay.
And if we did cupcakes or frosting, it's gonna have a tint to it because it's not clear.
It's brown.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like, straight to the face, and they have a bunch of this, all that kind of stuff that you can buy at the Amish.
Yep.
They also
Yeah, that's
have
good.
the donut. That place crappy. You need to go to that.
I would like that. Actually, the farmer's market was a great experience this past weekend. This was at Miller's.
Okay.
And so it was packed and the bakers were from Franklinville and Cornell.
Okay.
Brioche brand. I mean, just whatever good stuff.
You see the new chocolate shop in Israel? Is it where JD's used to be?
Okay, we met this guy at Mount Renee a year ago. And he was
Very glad.
And he said, I'll bet on it by Mother's Day last year, this year.
Yes. The soft opening, soft opening was this weekend. I don't know what their hours are, but for vague reviews, but it's all gourmet truffle chocolates, basic chocolates and things that are wacky.
I'm really glad to hear that, only because I had like the platters on a Wonder website up because. And I did, and.
You have a new place to go for dinner now.
I love JT's, I love that.
Yeah, so they have this whole chocolate shop and then Zets opened up their new place in Portico, which obviously we got coordinated, which was fine.
By the way, that was delicious.
Well, the funny thing with that is I had already reached out to her to use her for a cupcake thing I'm having. So it was hysterical. I said, yeah, I got your tray today.
It's interesting because. We were talking to somebody from Portugal today, and they were like, that is such a tough location.
Well, this,
Nobody has made it work.
So it's, yeah, the chocolate can be open.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Every time we go by, we're like, he's still to know. Okay. So it's really like tools and stuff, things are happening.
He had one of the chicken thing. It's shaped like a chicken and it's chocolate meat and it's upside. Really cheap.
And these chairs are tricky.
Yeah, I love these chairs, but they move.
Yeah.
They move too.
Oh, no, these, I have ended up at the other end of the room.
We should, I don't want.
Yes, yeah, that's. Sorry, I'm gonna run downstairs.
Oh, yeah, because it's sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I will check, but then I will be right back.
Okay.
You can start with
Yeah,
that.
I think maybe I should. It's already 5:35. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And tonight we're going to share a little bit more information about the Elevate Fund. And we as a board have been working through the various details of the fund. We announced the fund, I guess, last International Women's Day, which was March of this year. And we have since been creating awareness, working as a board to understand just how the Elevate Fund will work. And now we're at a place where we are gaining people who are interested, but also people who have already donated. So we have 10 donors of the fund, including a significant seed fund donation of $5,000. And I'm going to mess up the the economic development, only in business development, but it was the Cattaraugus, the County.
IDA, was it the IDA?
Yes, but they have a name now.
Oh.
Oh, see, I need Kirk, he's not here right now. He'll remember. Okay,
Yes.
we have to make sure we give them credit.
Yes.
But then, so we have a total of about $8,000 already. So we're excited about that, and we have a better sense now, and thanks to the board, how we're going to shape that. And so that Elevate Fund is the info session for tonight. But also I wanted to mention that we're continuing to develop other She Elevate initiatives, which help identify opportunities for support and economic empowerment and parity for women and girls in our rural community. And that becomes significantly important, not just because we know that economic parity and social parity for women continues to be a significant challenge on a global scale, a local scale, but especially in rural communities, because women have less access to networks, they have less access to what people in urban areas would have. So that becomes even more significant in a community like this, which is why one of the motivations behind a fund like this one. So as part of that too, we have some larger women's initiatives, which do include International Women's Day. And I wanted to introduce Leanne Shear, who is joining us on Zoom. Leanne and I are working on something I'm very excited to at least give a peek at. But first, let me say thanks and introduce Leanne, because Leanne kind of came magically from the sky, like a gift, an angel, with experience in this very area, not only working with nonprofits, but advocating for women. She lives across two coasts and spent some time in Ellicottville. And Leanne, I want to be sure to say thank you to her, because she and I have been working on an initiative that will help women entrepreneurs specifically with helping them develop their businesses in our community. And we recognize that women developing business looks very different than men developing business, often, especially in rural communities. And just to share an example, I was teaching at the Lane Business Accelerator a couple of weeks ago. I was teaching marketing strategy, and everyone has to do an experience share. And I know this is anecdotal, but still quite representative. The men all shared, it's about half and half, maybe a few more men than women entrepreneurs in the accelerator. But the men shared about their businesses, and the women, almost all of them, shared about something that was going on in their family dynamics that was then impacting their business growth and business development. So I share that as a way of demonstrating that this is one of the reasons why we're here, because developing business, developing our professions, developing our roles, they're always, it's a different dynamic. And so that's why a fund like this is important. So Leanne, I don't know if you want to say anything. I didn't want to share too much about our program because we're still developing it, but if you want to say a few words.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So nice to meet you. So glad I could join virtually. Sorry I'm not there in person, but like Shelly said, I'm a little bit of a wanderer sometimes. My partner and I, though, recently bought a place in Ellicottville, New York, as she said. And so I was just reading the local Ellicottville news, as I do, and kind of walking into local businesses and chatting with people, because I really always like to get really immersed in the local community wherever I am. Oh, and I should say I'm from Buffalo, New York originally, so that's why I'm in the area. And I came across all of the great work all of you are doing, and I was lucky enough to meet with Kirk and Shelly, and Shelly and I especially just bonded, very, very quickly. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to develop, and like she said, some really exciting initiatives, and I'm honored to be a part of everything and look forward to more time with all of you at some point in the near future. So thanks for having me.
And thanks for, I put you on the spot there.
No problem. I never met a Zoom screen I didn't like. It's all good.
Thank you. I did want to share that because it's a great example of women working in community and working in co-leadership. And certainly this group has been integral to building this fund. And of course, also with credit to Cliff because he's really helped initiate this through the foundation, and that having allies here also is important. So thank you as well, Connie. Because we know that this is a fund that is not only for women. While it does help elevate women, we very much want to encourage and welcome men as allies in helping us with these various initiatives. So, all right. So what I want to do, I guess, is just kind of cover what the fund is if you're not already aware. And if there are any questions, I think we've kind of set the stage for why the fund exists, why it's important in our community, why particularly in a rural community. And we are also, building this in a way that is collaborative. And so I want to also clarify something that I didn't really understand about even working on the board of the Community Foundation. And then thinking through, okay, what is even a giving circle and why is that important versus general philanthropy? And I want to note this because, again, this is making philanthropy accessible and also making philanthropy and doing philanthropy in a way that is very focused on listening and then mobilizing the contributions of all. So it doesn't just go and look at, okay, who has the most money and can make an ask of them. What this does is it encourages all of us to think about causes that are important to us and what it is that we want to prioritize when it comes to not just our money, but certainly our money, our time, our talent, and having a voice in giving contribution. So there's two elements to that. There is that we give through our money, but we also give through our voice and having say about how the funds are allocated, and that's part of where the voting comes in and being a member of a giving circle. So I wanted to explain, at least give a general sense of what that is, because I'm still learning about it myself as well. But it was helpful for me to understand why it's important that we create a giving circle style of philanthropy in elevating women and for this initiative. So I did want to mention and clarify that as well. Any questions about the giving circle aspect? Or comments?
No, I think that, we certainly as a group talked about it. A great number of us know more about this because we've been involved in the planning process. One of the things that I think is exciting is that you've worked so hard on this, Shelley, and it has been fleshed out. And we've actually had lots of discussion about how this should operate. So I think it's been a really positive process in terms of bringing diversity in terms of our own opinions and our own perspectives and backgrounds.
Yeah.
So that has been great, and Kirk has been wonderful about drawing us all into that. So I'm very grateful for that. I think that, moving forward, we're just going to have questions about, where are the recipients going to be? Are they all Cat County? Are they going to be Allegheny County? Those kinds of things. But I think those will happen as we move forward.
Yes, thank you. And forgive me too, I need to be sure to introduce and acknowledge the board. So if you don't mind, if you could introduce yourself and Sharon.
Sure. I'm Mary Freeman, and I am a member of the Community Foundation Board, involved with the scholarship and the grants allocations committee for another month and a half. Which is really it's strange. I have very mixed feelings about that. So I'm very excited about being part of this. and have been involved in a partnership business for the last 15 years in this community.
Sharon Myers, also on the CRCF board for a month and a half left. Chair the marketing and donor committee. It's been a 9-year term, so but chair the marketing and donor committee and vice president as well. I'm the director of brand marketing at Cutco, so that's my day job. And then, yeah, volunteer for a number of organizations, et cetera. But this is something exciting because it is about elevating women and girls in our community. And if you just look even nationally in the trends, I think it's something for our community, especially as I see some of the women-led businesses going through the accelerator course and now starting to opening things up. And you want to support that. You want to give them every advantage possible to be successful. But we need to have a tribe to do that, essentially. So it's just a real opportunity to contribute, I think, in multiple ways, as you said, Shelley, not just monetarily, to really elevate that group in this community because they have a lot to give, and we've seen their contributions. So.
Hi, I'm Laura Whitford. I'm the director of the Dr. Lyle F. Renaudin Foundation here in the Allegheny-Olean area. We're affiliated with the Franciscan Sisters of Allegheny, and we provide grant funding to the local area for people who are experiencing poverty. So I think it's exciting to kind of put a special demographic on it. And as a working mother myself, often parenting on my own, this particular issue is something I'm passionate about. I'm happy that Shelley brought this to us.
And also, just to be sure to acknowledge Lucy Benson, who's also on our board. And have I forgotten anyone before I? Yes, and Celine, since we're in a small group, I want to be sure to say hello and to acknowledge and welcome you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's great to listen in. I got the email. I hadn't heard about it before, and the Giving Circle idea sounded like a really nice idea. So I'm just listening in.
Yes, okay, well, thank you. And please feel free to ask questions. Just let me know if you have one, and we're happy to pause and invite the conversation. So
Great, thanks.
my apologies for being. I was helping someone with their Giving Tuesday book. Operation Worker. Since we have a small group too, would you mind interviewing? Oh, sure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paula Bernstein. I feel like everyone in the room knows me already, and perhaps also on Zoom. Hello, lovely people on Zoom. My name is Paula Bernstein, and I'm excited to be here. I think this is such a wonderful opportunity to do some great good.
And so just to kind of recap, because Celine, you had mentioned, understanding the differences of the Giving Circle, or maybe not differences, but what marks it specific to Giving Circle. There are things like, number one, being mindful that we're listening to the needs of our community, and specifically to women and girls in this community. And through that, advocating for systemic change as part of the economic influence and listening that we're doing in the Giving Circle and in the Community Foundation. And of course, that's inherent in the Community Foundation, is that we have a good sense of being responsive to what's happening in our community so that we can make recommendations. So that's another reason why the Elevate Fund is kind of tucked in within the Cattaraugus County Community Foundation. Sorry, it's always a mouthful. CRCF. That's what I do. Yeah. So we do really focus on being intentional and collaborative in our leadership, so that it's not just about philanthropy, but advocacy and leadership in the community. So, all right. So the Elevate Fund itself, I think if you've had an opportunity to take a look at the website, we have been adding more details to the site around how the fund works. And so I just wanted to highlight some of that. We have mission and vision. I I won't go through those details. You can take a look at them on site. We've kind of already touched on that. But I do want to mention, so in terms of the membership and contribution structure, so it is a $500 annual contribution to maintain your membership. And you may do that monthly, quarterly, or annually. Is that correct? Okay, I want to make sure. Because I know we talked about a lot of different options, and so yes, there is that option as well to make it more accessible financially. And you can share your membership and your voting right with another individual or a small group by pooling funds. So again, another way for us to make this advocacy and philanthropy and leadership more accessible in our community. And members can also sponsor someone. So if there is an organization or a corporation that is interested in having this and participating in the community philanthropy in this way, we would certainly welcome that. And how your contribution is allocated. So this is that part of the giving circle we were talking about with regard to voting. 80% of that money then would go to the annual grant making, which we would have a collective voice in discussing and considering at least. And then 20% invested in the fund's endowment. And the endowment piece is something that I have especially appreciated learning about now that I'm sitting on the board of the Community Foundation and recognizing, oh, okay, so if we want these things to continue to go on, the endowment piece is critical to that. And one of the questions that we have had about the Elevate Fund, and I want to point this out, especially with regard to women's leadership and women's initiatives, that one of the common criticism of women's initiatives and leadership is that things can trail off. And we know systemically that part of the reason things trail off is because we're under a load of many, many responsibilities. So it is important, and this is why I go back to collective leadership and why we are working in leading as a group and as a whole, because it's important to us that this fund is well structured and professional and continuing to be something that we are doing in the long term. So the endowment piece of that is an important component in all of this. And you can see by the people around the table that this is something that is not, I've been doing quite a bit of speaking in this moment, but even in the whole group and conversation, you can see that so much of this is being led by the collective. So that endowment piece is important in that 20%. And then also within the 20% is supporting partnerships that expand member learning, networking, and leadership opportunities. An example of that we talked about, I forget, but can we give an example of that so that people would know what we mean?
If there was a forum or something that was dealing with women's issues, we might be the sponsor to that. So we might, sponsor a certain event that can further our mission, because we're a small group. And even as we build the collective and hopefully build this group of support, we can't be everywhere at every time, but there are many other places that are doing good work that if we can give them a sponsorship, we can partner with them and get that messaging across, and we become more effective, not only in our voice, and adding, I think, relevancy to us into that organization that spreads the word of what both are trying to do.
Yes. Thank you. So of course you would naturally also want to know what kinds of issues or topics would we be considering as part of the Elevate Fund and the issues and areas of advocacy. And those could be some lists that we came up with, and you can also find this on the webpage, but access to education, career development and job preparation, childcare access, networking and mentorship, entrepreneurship. We know networking and mentorship is particularly an area when we, for example, in women's entrepreneurship, we talk a lot about and assume that women need money and funding. And while that's exceptionally important, of course, we all need money and funding, there are other areas that we need access and opportunity. And one of those absolutely includes networking and mentorship. In fact, those are two kind of different things, but very important, because the networks of women are different than the networks of men. And so being able to have this aspect is an important part of what we're considering. Access to healthcare is another example, considering and addressing gender-based violence and cultural and social empowerment are some of the examples of things that we would be looking at as we are assessing and requesting people who would be interested in applying for funds within the Elevate Fund. Questions about that, about any of those areas of focus? And I think too, part of what we discussed is, of course, it would depend on who is applying. We're not saying that it's only these or certain ones, but it would depend on who's applying, right? And what those topics are, because it would be rather probably impossible for us to exactly anticipate what some of those topics may be, and they might not be on this list, but certainly that would be part of the process, and also the beauty of working in a circle is that we see these opportunities and we're able to be responsive to them and understand those needs in the community. And I guess, oh, and then of course, very important, why join and how to join. So I think we've kind of touched on these things already, but we want to emphasize that we are a trusted and supportive network of women and allies, and also that we're in partnership with CRCF, which we already know has a long-standing trusted reputation in this community. And also to recognize that we have a strategic way to give that ensures resources create a lasting impact. And that goes back to the significance and importance of doing things that are sustainable and that we're building something that is not just a one-off. So for anyone who is interested in joining, I think probably the best way would be to go online and do that.
Yes, so there is a how to give section of our website. There's a drop down underneath that links directly to the Elevate Fund. I'll also send the membership form to everybody that registered for the workshop today. If you have questions, because admittedly, the giving options are a little bit more complicated than the usual. For example, you want to figure out exactly what kind of a monthly contribution you would need to make up the annual levels. Just give a call to our office and we will walk you through it and walk you through the process. So.
I just note too, when I looked myself, it was easier to go through that top menu and down to the Elevate Fund than to go to how do I give or whatever that choice was, because yes, Elevate Fund was part of it and that's great. You probably could put your notes in there, but when you go through the proper menu, it takes you through more of the membership components of it and gives you more information.
Yes, it does.
And in keeping with the theme of Shelley doing backward introductions, yes, could you please, and then, yes, okay.
Sure. For those that don't know me, and I think most people here do, Kirk Windus, I'm the executive director here at the Community Foundation. This is a really important step forward. I think, we at the Community Foundation have talked about engaging in giving circles in some form for some time, sometimes very quietly and behind the scenes, but we think this is a really important move forward to target, and show how philanthropy can have a direct impact on certain issues in our community. And the reality is we know that, it is not an equal playing field. I know that, I'm a man in a position of power. I get it. I look around, I know that I am very privileged and lucky to be where I am. So, investing and elevating that opportunity to other people that don't have the same advantages is really, really important. So that's me in a nutshell.
I guess I'm an ally. Happy to be here. I'm married to Mary Freeman. Mary Freeman and I have run a business together for the last long time. And I used to think I was a guy in a position of power. But I realized that we're not complete unless we have the full circle joined, and woman's voice and man's voice go together actually. And I've learned to become a very good listener because of that. I think it's really important that men listen to this conversation, because I think what you're doing is bringing the community into a full circle. not just this group, but the entire community. So I think it's really important. And I'm very happy to be here. And as I said, I am planning on listening, so please proceed. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to say anything before?
I had so I always wanted to like have the operational piece.
Yes, please.
In a week, we have Cattaraugus Gives. So,
Is that happening? I think.
yes. Oh, yeah, I know you were involved in it, multiple. However, and many of us are actually supportive of many different organizations in the community. But this is a great opportunity for us, and I know the LA Betty Fund is one of the funds participating. Is there an opportunity for people to join? Because you know, when you get to Cattaraugus Gives, you know, you say, all right, $100, whatever, that's it. But ours is a little bit more complicated. So will that mechanism be there for people to join? That's a good question.
Yes, there definitely is. As long as you fill out the membership form, you can make a corresponding donation. You can do that through the Cattaraugus Give site. Likewise, we will be monitoring our own donation site all day. So you can donate through our own website. You can give by check. You can call the office. Whatever format you need to make a donation through, you can do that. Just be sure to fill out the membership form as well.
So we don't have to go through the Cat Gives website?
You don't have to. Certainly, it saves us administratively, but that is not the.
So we could fill out the form on the other site and then give through the Cat.
There should be a link to the membership form on the profile for the Elevate Fund during Cattaraugus Gives as well. Admittedly, I need to go back through and do some work, but it will be there. So
And
that
if
is not.
it's already a member, they
Yep.
can just give it, they'll know that it goes to their membership.
Yes.
Perfect.
You mean if you want to add to your current membership?
Correct.
Elevate.
Elevate the current amount.
Enhance, isn't it?
Enhance is really nice, yes. We are the enhancement and elevate. But because that is a great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just, I didn't even think of it. I knew I needed to give, but what a great way to give.
There
What a
you
great
go.
Next Thursday is an awesome time. Yes, absolutely, yes.
By the way, if you're giving on next Tuesday,
I have a few other sites.
well, I already got friends, so I need to put that in here.
That's right.
Genesis
That's right.
House,
And Rotary.
Renown Foundation.
Yeah. And then you guys say give and give often.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely. We have some targeted hours. You'll receive an email.
Well,
Yes.
I wanted to come back to something that you said, and I thank you for talking about the importance of this conversation. It's not just a conversation for women. This is a conversation for the collective, and there is a difference between equity and equality, and we're not talking about 50-50 here. We're talking about equity, and equity requires that we understand, listen, receive, appreciate the whole, and not just thinking that things need to be 50-50. That isn't what we're going for here. What we're looking to do is to elevate the whole. And we know that when we invest in women, we see this in the research over and over again, that when we invest in women in our communities, the community raises because women have so much power and influence on so many aspects of community, not only the economic impact. So this is another reason and why this is so important. And so also does require our allies. So thank you all.
And if I can just say, Shelley, too, is as we sit around here, Mike's, you know, the person at the table, Pauline, over this signed up and folks on Zoom. The best thing we can do as well is one, after this session, you have questions.
Yes.
Ask those, you know, and that can go through the CRCF, through Kirk, but also think about other allies. You know, I think word of mouth here is very important for us to talk to others who we think could be this thing we find this interesting, or find something that they're like, this is something I want to be a part of. So I think this is something, because it is a little more complex than just writing a check for a donation. There's a lot underneath the giving circle that if one of you have questions, make sure to ask them so that we can answer them and everyone feels good that they have that information, because word of mouth to me is going to be one of those key things, especially in developing allies, for them to understand it's not about this is only for women, right? We need that allyship within our community of the male population, and for them to understand why this is happening. So what you said earlier so eloquently, it's finding those other voices, because there are wonderful folks out there who can support. So word of mouth and in our own social circles, etc., I think is an excellent first step as well. Just to help explain what this is about and why it's a little different for us and unique.
Do you have future plans for community outreach?
With regard to this fund,
Yes.
I guess it depends on what it is that we're going to, but who comes to us.
Are you familiar with the Zonta Club of Olean? So as you know, that is a equal gender, men can join too. But I will be inducted as their vice president next month, and then I will serve as their president next year through their Zonta year. And of course, it is an organization, if you're unfamiliar, that deals with the very similar women issues, from healthcare to education to gender violence. So I feel like that is what's the right word?
A natural.
Yes, a natural partnership, as well as 47 available ladies that might be interested in membership. So
Okay, might be worth the presentation.
might be worth
But and that's, I think, the word comes in, and Shelley obviously has spearheaded this, but there might be opportunities that we can go to those and I think we don't have a set plan as far as what is that outreach. We started with this information session. We will have another one likely, I think, after Women's Day in March, and we're looking at other opportunities where we can partner with organizations to have those conversations. I think that's a great one.
Perfect.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Of course.
I think educational institutions are natural allies as well.
Especially because students could pool funds. You could get a group of students that $500 is a lot, but if they can pool together, they could have enough to be able to have a voice in this, which would be a great experience for students, male and female.
It also may be important at some point, just to, when in having the discussion, this is not something that is new in the world.
No.
It's new in Olean, but it's fairly commonplace in many other places, especially cities, much more urban areas. So we're bringing this to the community as an option. But it's not something, it's not just something that we didn't just like stick it on the wall. Is it gonna stick?
Yeah.
This works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Proven model. Yeah.
Yes, proven model. Great, thank you for that.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Celine. Thank you, Leanne.
It's good to see you, Celine.
Thank you, folks,
Yeah,
everyone.
great. I think it's a great initiative, just the whole idea of a giving circle. I haven't been in one, and so I think I'll be a member. I don't know how much work I'll do, but I'll be a member.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you later.
Okay,
Thanks.
take care.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes, happy holidays, everyone.
Wait, on December 2nd.